This is Angela with Danceable Thoughts, and this is episode 3 of our summer podcast series. Listen at your leisure and let that sink in. I had a crazy great week. I had 2 director's intensives here in my home in Sugar Land. Different topics each day, different group of people. But what was really magical about it was the range of experience in the people that attended, the way we collaborated and helped each other with ideas, the way they allowed me to talk to them about the things I'm passionate about. Just a quick commercial. There is another one scheduled for July 23rd here in Sugar Land, and there's one, thanks to my friends in Dallas, going to be on July 22nd in Dallas. So if you need more information, you can check out the social media pages of Danceable Thoughts, or you can go to Danceable Thoughts website and sign up. So just letting you know about that. Super fantastic, excited about that. But what I want to use for the podcast chats today are some of the thoughts that I've had during the week. And one of those is about that collaborative time that we spent together. We say so often, we need to take a girls trip, or we need to meet for lunch, or we need to meet for dinner. And then we let life kind of roll over us and get us going in 1,000 different directions. It is okay to sometimes be spontaneous and just decide to go. And we see lots of those real inspirational posts that say there's no better time than now, don't wait for things to happen. That's the same thing about going on vacations, taking little trips. I will lead that into a conversation that's really near and dear to my heart, and it is about being by the water. I'm a beach person. I've got a beach trip coming up pretty soon. Very excited. But I was really struck yesterday. We were celebrating the Josie girls' birthday, my goddaughter, and they had one of those giant inflatable water slides, and the kids were just running around. And I think there's something truly magical and freeing about just deciding to let go and have fun and hang out. And there's you've got to really, I know that especially we as dancers are very self-conscious about our physical appearance, but there's something freeing about just getting wet and not worrying what you look like, pull your hair back in crazy styles and have fun. There's, again, something truly magical about being by the water. We talk about its soothing capabilities when you sit and listen to the waves and you get that rock and rhythm. And I just really think that any water play is great play. Of course, you got to wear the sunscreen because it's 1,000 degrees here in Texas right now. But putting on that sunscreen, putting on a bathing suit or shorts, and not being afraid to get wet, to jump in with both feet, to have fun, to splash, to have a good time. I think as you get in that mid-cycle of your, like late 20s, early 30s, there's a lot of things that go in your head about, is this careful? Should I be careful? Or should I worry about this and that? You gotta let all of that go. Let it wash away with the waves and have fun. Playing in the water is great. It's also great when you're thinking about when you're doing playtime activities outside, because it is so dang hot. And I don't think you just have to worry about, do we get the pool or the inflatable, or do we have a pool? As a kid, some of the greatest things we ever did was just play in the sprinklers. I don't know if anybody ever does that anymore, but I gotta admit, myself as a grown-up, every chance I get when I'm out there watering, I have like potted plants on my back porch, I spray the water everywhere. I let it splash. I let it play. It really, I think, the freedom to be a child again is very important to our brain and letting it reset during this time of summer. So there's a little bit of water play. I also want to say that while we're talking about getting together and being with friends, there's something opposite of that. You'll see it a lot in my posts that I do for our link parties. I try to always recommend a book, and that is summer reading or reading of any type. When you get to read a book, that is ultimate me time, and we get in those books and we get into the world that the author has created for us. I don't have any specific kind of genre that I can recommend for you, because some people like the romance novels and some of us like the action adventure and some like the mystery. But when you Take the time to really read and read. Now, in class, we called it silent, sustained reading, where you gave yourself at least 20 minutes or so to sit and read. You take your world to a new place, and you get to hear the author's voice. You get to see the world through the eyes of the author and through the characters that the authors put out there, and it's very freeing for you again. Creativity in life comes from random sparks of magic, and that sounds funny when I say it, but you'll never know what you'll read in a book that will create an image that you might use someday when you're trying to create expressiveness in your performers, or you're trying to recreate a party scene, or you're trying to come up with a clever idea. It may not be that you're recreating something exactly from that book, but that description, that helps you. I have the same feeling about travel. I thought that when my son was small, that I tried to do as many travel things, and I don't mean you have to go on a giant Mediterranean cruise vacation, although that would be my dream. But when you travel, when you go places, when you see different sites, that stores somewhere in your computer brain. It stores and it gives you an image that you can recall at some time in your future. So the more, they used to say, the more you read, the more you learn, and the more you see and read, the more you're building up a file of amazing sources of creativity for future activities that you're going to do. All right, so I've got some other kind of interesting conversations to do before I get to the real funny stuff that I want to talk to you about at the end. And this is about myself, and although I am like a certified boy mom, like I saw every Star Wars movie. I took Jack and his buddies to see Star Trek. We did Harry Potter. We did Jurassic Park. I somehow missed out on all the superhero movies, the Marvel comic movies. I didn't see them as much. It just wasn't my gig. But I did see some of them. I don't want to say I didn't. And so I went with my significant other, who was dying to see Endgame on the big screen before it was gone. So I went to see Endgame. So all of you Avenger movie people, that's pretty intense. I now get it because I'm such a Harry Potter geek, read all the books, like would read the book before I went to see the movie, and then after the movie I would read the book again to see what they missed. So I get it, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know who all these people are and all these relationships are in these movies and what the backstory is. Oh, that's a nice flashback. What the heck is that all about? Kind of felt the same way about Game of Thrones. But speaking to Endgame and all of that immersion into a fantasy world, it was pretty fun to just chill out, like not get worked up, like I was not truly invested in who I wanted to survive or not. Of course, I knew who the heroes were, and I know I am Groot. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy. Groot didn't have enough screen time in that movie, just saying. But what I'm going to bring to you in this conversation is not any critique of the movie Endgames or the Marvel superhero series movies and stuff. But what I want to say is I was really struck because, of course, we had to stay through the credits because you never know what's going to happen after the credits. And as the credits were rolling and rolling and rolling, and there was this crew and that crew and the chefs and the drivers and the gaffs and the da-das and the boo-boo-boos and I thought to myself, well, no wonder it cost so much to make a movie. If you only paid every one of these people $1, holy cow, what did this movie cost? And then I started thinking beyond the silly thoughts of movies and the financial amazement that they sometimes create. I started thinking about all those people in the credits, and I wondered to myself, how many hours did each of those people invest? Because it was probably pretty significant if they made it to the credit roll. So in the creation of that almost 3-hour movie, whatever it was, there was this army of people behind it, editors and illustrators and prop masters, and I thought to myself, for every name that made it onto the screen, how many hours did they invest in this project? So of course I took that from my world of movie and summer vacation into a danceable thought. when we look back on our own careers, when we look back on the students that we've taught, we've put a lot of hours into a lot of people's credits. So I think about how many hours I spent with somebody else's child, and I probably not always get a credit line. Neither do you, but we know we did it, right? We know we did it. We spent hours with so-and-so on our dance team. And then when that dancer was finished, they went on about their happy life, and that's the way it was supposed to be. Do we get a name? Do we get a mention in their credit roll? Maybe, maybe not. I kind of think this is a great time to think about how many people have spent hours and hours of energy dedicating themselves or contributing to our successes, not just in what we do as performance artists, dance team directors, professionals, educators, but the people on the sidelines who have been drivers or chefs, or they are the people who are our personal assistants, although they never get that credit title. So I want you to think about that. Just back it up a little bit and imagine yourself as a major movie production. This is your life on screen. I don't know if we could ever really calculate all the people that we would need to put into the credits that roll. But if you can take your time and think of maybe 3 or 4 people who get credit, but you might not see them anymore. You may not talk to them on a regular basis. You may not interact with them. I'd love for you to take the time to, in your own way, give them some credit. Give them a call, send them a shout out on Facebook or social media. Maybe you want to write a letter, a thank you card, something in the mail. That's very Southern and very sweet and very appreciated. Especially if there are some people on your credit roll that are of the older generation. They would love to hear from you, just to shout out. One of the things that I was able to do on Facebook that I absolutely loved was I found my junior English teacher, junior in high school, my English teacher, and her name is Mrs. L, and I just adored her and found her on social media and was able to tell her how proud of me I wanted. I got to say, look at all these things I've done, and she was expressing to me that she was proud and excited, and it means the world when you reach back in time to find someone. And then the same thing about that is the people who live right in your circle right now, who are being your greatest support, and they do it effortlessly. And this may be a significant other, this may be a spouse, someone who's just eager to say, you know what, good job, or that's great, and I want you to take a time. We have a Father's Day and a Mother's Day, and they've invented a Hallmark Day, and there's a million made-up holidays on social media calendars now. But if I were to say anything, just take a moment to find that person or persons who you hadn't thought about in a really long time. I'm hoping, as I'm slowing my speech down, you think about somebody. What if it was the secretary at the school, and she doesn't work there, or he doesn't work there? Find those people and take the time to appreciate them. I'm going to swing that around conversation to the podcast I did during the school year. It was your drill team DNA, your DT DNA. I really love watching all the posts of everybody at camp, because I spoke a lot about my memories of camp. I actually did some podcasts both for you going to camp and for those instructors who teach at camp. So if you scroll back through the podcast list, you'll find those, where it really is a wonderful experience to go back in time and see who was influential to you in ways that you may not have realized until you came forward and had the benefit of, let's get back into the Endgame movie, of time travel back and forth. So that's my thoughts on Endgame. So I'm going to finish up the podcast with some absolutely silly things for you to think about this summer. Very doable stuff. The first thing is, I think that you've not heard this exactly the same way, but you've probably heard it in some fashion. It's clothing in, clothing out. So anytime this summer when you decide, oh, I've got to have that cute shirt or those cute shorts, or in my case, those cute shoes, when you bring home some new items, you've been out shopping, you've grabbed something you liked. When you've been out shopping and you've grabbed something new to bring into your closet, take the time to go back in your drawers and closets and stuff and pull out some stuff that you're not going to wear anymore. Many times it will be very gently worn because it's gotten pushed to the cabinet, to back of the closet for that, oh, someday I'm going to wear this. Take those items, put them in a bag. There's lots of donation stuff, donation drives or Goodwill, and build that bag up. So when some clothing item, shoe item, whatever, baseball cap, cutie bathing suit comes in, go back, get rid of something old, fill up a bag to be done. Also, I want to say, and I'm very rarely preachy about the recycling and everything, but I don't know if you know this, but I learned this during Hurricane Harvey, that one of the greatest problems in landfills is used textiles or discarded textiles, meaning towels, sheets, clothing. Now think about this. You know, you always see these clothing drives where when there's been a disaster and people literally just clean their closets out and they take all these used clothes, some of which are not really worth sharing. They say that clothing or textiles is one of the greatest space hogs in the landfills. So if you can find ways to utilize, recycle clothing instead of just throwing it away in the trash, do it. Like I said, take it to, if it's gently used, take it, donate it. If it's, you know, beyond repair, turn it into rags, get on Pinterest, find some craft for used stuff. But be sure that you don't just throw clothing, textiles in the trash. That was very green of me, wasn't it? Okay, this is, speaking of green, something hilarious. I've told many of my friends of this over time. This was passed on to me, speaking about people in your past that have given you great ideas. This is a shout out to a teacher I met in my very first 2 years of teaching. Her name was Barbara Brammer. She was a math teacher. She was a big, strong woman, and she was also married to some man who had a B in his name. I'm just going to call him Bill or Bob. But anyway, the idea was that Barbara Brammer taught me to save B dollars. Now, what am I talking about? Well, Barbara Brammer said to me, and remember this is early, I'm not going to tell you, but it was in the late 80s, so digital wasn't the way it was, but she told me that when you get dollar bills in change, not from your stripper dancing, when you get dollar bills, she said, look and find the mint mark on it. And each mint has a different letter. And she would save the B dollars, Barbara Brammer, letter B. And she said, take those dollar bills that have your mint mark and you put them somewhere different, in your wallet, in your car, in a little jar at home, and you save them until, about a year or to a significant event. So Barbara Brammer and her beloved would save B dollars, and then every year on their anniversary, they would take their B dollars out, and they would have this stash of cash that they could spend on frivolous, whatever they wanted, something new for the house or a nice evening out. I used to do A dollars for Angela. Then when Jack came along, I did J dollars for Jack. And I would literally, I go to Sonic every day. I get change, and I would put them in the console of my car. Eventually, I would clear them out. They were always the emergency money. So the reason I bring this up is if you are traveling right now, this is a great time, because when you are traveling, you see the mint dollars. You see them from different places. And so you'll find your letter. So find your letter. Maybe start right now. It's not too late. This weekend was the first day of summer. So maybe for a year, you keep your special initial dollars, and this time next year, you spend it on something really fun, on vacation, a special meal out, or that type of thing. So that's been this Sunday's Listen at Your Leisure and Let It Sink In, the podcast that's for just having fun, talking friend to friend all summer long. I hope you've enjoyed both the serious and the silly tips. I'm going on a little bit of an adventure this week. I'm going to Chicago, and I will be telling you more about that. So again, have a great summer, and let all this sink in.